Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSP Magazine. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Hello, everybody. You're very welcome to a new episode of Redefining Cybersecurity here on ITSP Magazine. This is Sean Martin, and I have the distinct honor and pleasure of having a former guest on and a fellow podcast host on the show today. Tom Eston, how are you?
I'm great, Sean. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I know it's going to be cool.
Second time.
I know. I know. Well, Marco and I had you on talking about podcasting, which is really, really cool. And I would encourage everybody to have a listen to that episode and hear about Tom's journey and some of the things he does and knows and learned and is still learning and shared with us all about podcasting. And your podcast, Shared Security Podcast, obviously is about cybersecurity. You talk about all kinds of different things, and you're a professional in cybersecurity as well, not just a podcast host. And I was like, you and I have to wrap on some stuff.
Yeah, just a few things, right?
Yeah, let's set podcasting logistics and operations and all that aside, and let's get into some fun things for redefining cybersecurity here, where I hopefully help people operationalize security. So think a little differently about the tools and techniques and how they build their teams and run their programs to not just do it for the sake of security, but to help grow the business and then protect the growth when they actually achieve it. So here we are. Tom, a little bit about you for those who haven't heard that other episode yet about Shared Security Podcast, maybe closer back to, I say when I was hatched, but earlier on, kind of your journey into where you are now.
Yeah. So like you said, I've been hosting the Shared Security Podcast for over 14 years now. So that's my little labor of love or side project. But my day job is, so I'm a VP of delivery at Bishop Fox, where I lead our consulting and our product delivery teams for the company. So I've spent, I'd say, the majority of my career, well over 17 years now, in offensive security. So kind of grew up as a pen tester myself. So I've always been a hacker. And then somebody one day in a job told me, it's like, you know what, you'd make a great manager. And I'm like, management?
All went downhill from there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know about that. And in my one job as a consultant, I kind of played a dual role of being a manager and a consultant. And then I ended up getting burnt out, and I had to choose one path, right? Either I go the business path or I stay as pen tester in the technical path. And I'd say that was probably one of the hardest decisions I had to make, because I love doing both things. But I actually found out that getting more into the business side ended up being more of a challenge, because you probably know this, but managing people is much more challenging than some of the technical challenges that I've had to overcome. So I kind of look at it that way now. And honestly, I think the best part of being in management or being in leadership has been just seeing my teams grow, see people, helping people grow, mentoring them, helping them be better at their jobs. And that has given me just a lot of satisfaction in my role. But yeah, I've been from pen tester through management, and now I'm an executive. So it's been quite the journey.
That's awesome. And this isn't about me, but we're going to talk about something that's relevant here. So I was fortunate enough to have many tactical roles at a big yellow company many moons ago.
Yes.
From QA to engineering to project manager, program management to product management to product marketing and sales enablement and project office for sales and all these different things, and then managers for all those roles as well. So the hands-on doing and then leading a team to do it. And they each have their challenge. I can say it's easy to get burnt out in both.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
It doesn't matter which one.
Yeah.
But I know one of the things, the reason I mentioned that, one of the things we want to talk about was kind of this idea of the talent gap
Hmm.
and a lack of skills, and where do we really sit with that? I know you have some opinions on, is there a gap, or where do we sit? And I don't know, we'll see where the conversation goes,
Yeah.
but I think that the point is, we talk about it, and I've heard this point from other industries as well. Like, people are burning out and they don't have the skill. I heard it
Mm.
in the legal space. I heard it in HR. And all right, so everybody has this problem. We're not unique. We like to think
Nope.
we are in security, right?
Mhm.
But then, is it really a problem, or is it just something to talk about in the context? So your initial thoughts there, and we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the same thing you have. Everybody has a skills shortage. We don't have enough people or enough talent in our company. And whenever I hear that, I kind of think about, have you looked at your own employees and have you tried to skill up your own employees to get them into those positions that you want to fill? Is usually my first response. And then I actually look to see what type of jobs are they posting for the skills that they say that they're missing. And I find it kind of funny that a lot of these job positions, and when I read them, they all say they want very senior, very experienced people to fill these roles. And so I often go back to, well, what is your training program? How are you developing your internal employees to get them to those skill levels, instead of just like throwing out to the world, hey, we need all these skills and we need these senior people. And then there are oftentimes a lot of junior people that, are very talented. Maybe they don't have the years of experience you're looking for, but there's a lot of times you just got to give people a chance, or maybe you give them, maybe a more entry level role that they can prove themselves and then move up into that more senior role. But a lot of it is just people not actually advertising for the correct skills or the correct positions that they're actually looking for. I think it's like, check the box of whatever HR job description says, and hiring managers aren't really thinking about that.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder, because I mean, in each of the positions that I mentioned, I'd never done them before. They were the
Yeah,
first time
right.
I was doing it, and thankfully I was given the opportunity,
Hmm.
and I had to figure out. I had to learn how to code. I wasn't a
Yeah.
coder. I had to learn how to code. Um,
Yep.
I need to learn networking, and, and so I guess the definition of the skills and what's really needed, and I know certifications are a thing, right? You have to pass the filter of, do you have a cert or not?
Oh yeah. That's a huge debate, right? To this
Yeah.
day. We're always talking about, does the like CISSP,
Mhm.
right? ISC squared, all their certifications, does that really matter anymore? And then you start digging into the organization itself, and there's a lot of controversy over how they run their board and like the different things. And then as a security professional, you're like, is this really going to benefit me in my career? Am I learning anything from it? Or is it literally now just a check the box exercise? Like you said, get past the HR filters in a resume pool. But I'll tell you, just at least in my area of offensive security, we rely less on certifications. We really, I mean, frankly, I don't care. Like when I hire somebody or my directors do and managers, we're not looking, the first thing we are looking for is experience, cultural fit, ability to learn. It's not necessarily certifications or what college you went to, and all these grandiose things that at the end of the day, from what I find, at least in offensive security, is skill set, desire, and passion is much more important, and I think generates better results for the
Yeah.
company too.
Yeah, certainly, and an aptitude and the
Oh
desire
yeah.
to do something cool.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and on this point, I mean, I have a CISSP from 20 years ago. I maintain it.
Me too.
Um, I I got it because I learned all this stuff on the fly,
Yeah.
and I wanted to prove to myself
Hmm.
that I actually knew what I was doing based on some standard. So that was the first
Yep.
reason I got, and then I was ended up in marketing, and I figured, well, nobody trusts marketing. Maybe with the CISSP, they'll believe me a little more
Yeah. Sure.
with that. Um, my point is, though, that I don't know, the certs train something. I just finished recording an episode on networking and fundamentals of networking related to cybersecurity. With you know them, Justin Elzy and
Yeah.
Nick Douglas.
Hmm.
And one of the things we talked about was understanding networking details enough to apply those fundamentals to how
Hmm.
you build security controls around the network to do the right thing and not kill the business in the process.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about was like the OSI model. It's one of the things that is used for training, right?
Hmm.
It's something you can learn from, but both Mick and Justin pointed out that you don't apply that model to a
No,
real network.
not in the real world.
So there's no
Yeah.
way to translate that into hands-on until you
Hmm.
get hands-on. So I guess where I'm going with this is, even if you have a cert, even if you follow a model, even if you have a deep understanding of standards, it's the hands-on piece that really matters. Is there an opportunity that we're missing, do you think, from like an internship perspective? Or
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of internships. And in fact, one of the cool things that we've done at Bishop Fox is we have a big program down in Mexico where we have a big presence, and we partner with the universities down there with a lot of their top talent. And that's how we bring in a lot of our interns from the university programs. I mean, we've even done this in the United States, where we're trying to find that talent or that interest in cybersecurity. And through an internship, we find that that's where you really can showcase a lot of the talent, and they're getting that hands-on skill by actually working on real engagements in real environments with tools and techniques. They're learning all these things from practitioners in the field. And they're not going to get that through book knowledge. They're not going to get that through taking a SANS class or, another type of training, or like you see nowadays. Hack the Box and other types of these learning environments are awesome. I mean, I wish I had stuff like that when I was getting started as a pen tester. For me, it was like I had to build my own lab by hand at home with VMs and start exploiting and hacking and things like that. And now it's become very easy to develop those skills. But what the internships do is give you that real world experience of, okay, this is how you use these techniques and tools in a real world environment. And I think that's the only way you can get that, by actually doing it on the job.
and so many directions to go here. Because what I'm thinking is, I mean, let's be real. The environment that you created when you started testing
Hmm.
and testing looks very different now, and
Oh,
tools
totally.
available, right? Even
Yeah.
Hack the Box, those types of things exist.
Hmm.
And what I'm going to with this is that you, you might. I think it's important to understand the fundamentals, the basics of how things work,
Hmm.
for when things go off the rails. But in reality, most programs use a slew of tools,
Hmm.
right? Have a ton of data that that gets analyzed for them and points them in the right direction, kind of the right direction anyway.
Yeah.
And so, are we expecting too much of people, given the fact that technology is an assistant in many
Hmm.
cases, where the abstraction layer is where you really need to have the understanding for the general team view,
Hmm.
and then maybe there you have some experts in different aspects, somebody in cloud, somebody in network, somebody in
Yeah.
endpoint, those kind of things. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I definitely tell you that you can't be an expert in everything. I mean, we all know that. I At one point in my career, I tried to be the person that wears many hats in pen testing, and I even ventured into being a developer, thinking that, yep, if I learn how to code, I can write exploits, and maybe I get into more exploit development. Found out that wasn't really for me. I had to experiment with different types of technologies, different techniques. What did I like? What I didn't like? And for me, I found out that I gravitated more towards application security. And so that became, for me, my kind of forte and an area that I wanted to focus in on. But before I even got into that, I had to learn the fundamentals. I had to learn the basics of application security, not just being a coder, because AppSec is much more than just code. It is, how to be a good developer, how to secure code, how to write secure code. There was so many aspects, how to secure the infrastructure that the code is sitting on, all those things. And I think that's the challenge that new people coming into this industry find, is that there's so much to do. And I just tell people, great, try to specialize in something. What is it about cyber for you that gets you excited? Where do you spend most of your time? What do you like tinkering in the most? And then start exploring the fundamentals of that particular thing, and then get better at it. And then as your knowledge grows and as you network with people and start, going to conferences and listening to other people talk about the particular thing that you're interested in, that is a huge benefit to your career. Because I can tell you, being a generalist is awesome, but where you're really valued in a company, especially in offensive security, is going to be that niche skill set that you have, and that you can perform really well.
And I'm wondering if, not unlike the number of protection, detection, response, recovery technologies that come out of this industry, we never get rid of anything. We just add to it. I'm wondering if the job descriptions are the same, where we just build onto it and say, we also need this and we also need this, which is the complete opposite direction. What you just said, somebody
Right.
has a very specialized skill
Mhm.
set. Let's embrace that. And
Oh,
they're probably going to be
absolutely.
good, and we can stretch them and
Yeah. Oh, I could tell you just recently, blockchain or crypto type of skills right now are still in high demand, despite what's going on in the blockchain, arena, and, tanking and Bitcoin and all of that. But I still get clients asking for that. And we have some consultants that specialize in that, and they are highly valued for that particular skill set. The next thing that, is going to come is AI, right? If we have consultants that specialize in AI and how that works, or if that's something you're interested in, maybe just trying to get into the industry, that is going to become something that's going to be in high demand. We have people that have hardware testing skills, right? And clients that have hardware that needs to be tested is equally as important. It's not just all about, whatever the biggest thing everybody's talking about, like DevSecOps and AppSec, or if it's networking or cloud. That's all great, but I tell people, still try to specialize in that bigger topic. Cloud is a great example. There's so many careers and so many things that people could get involved with, and find that niche that makes them maybe a little bit different than the next candidate, is what I try to tell people.
what is that? Containers and
Yep.
Kubernetes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Whatever that is, the craziness.
That stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. You touched on it, so let's kind of go this direction now with AI. And I mean, AI itself is a big topic.
Oh yes.
And there are different ways to look at it. There's AI to help with, detection, protection, response, in the SOC, for example. There's AI to help perhaps drive, maybe generate AI. And I was talking about this earlier with Mick and Justin. Can generate AI, generative. If I can only speak, I can't even speak. Maybe AI will do it for me. Can it answer questions we ask of it that maybe some tools can't today? And then there's the other side of the coin of, well, what's it being used for? Where is it being used in the business, and what risk does it bring? So we don't have to detect and respond to this stuff. So I don't know where you want to go first. Maybe let's talk skill set for protection, because we just come off the skill set thing. So how important is that, and where does that fit in, do you think?
I think that the more that you can learn about AI and how to interface with it is going to be an extremely valuable skill, for you, or for anyone that, honestly, anything that you're doing in cybersecurity. I think you can't be oblivious to the fact that AI is here. It's going to be integrated into the products and the services that you're using, not just at work, but in your personal life. So the more that you can learn how to use it or how to interface with it, I think the more valuable you're going to become to your organization. So, just thinking of like if you're a regular security analyst that, maybe you're looking at logs all day and things like that, start thinking about like, well, how could AI help analyze those logs? How can it kind of automate some of the mundane things that you would spend hours doing yourself, and think about efficiencies, right? So I look at AI as a lot of just efficiency. I don't look at it as like it's coming to take us over and, like Terminator, Skynet type stuff, which, okay, maybe one day, but hopefully not in our lifetime. But really it's there to, I think, help you and be more of an assistant so you can focus and you can do the things that maybe an AI isn't necessarily good at. But I do want to say that, you can't rely on everything that the AI is going to do. There's going to be mistakes. We've seen this with ChatGPT. There's tons of hilarious, tweets. And there's like, look what ChatGPT told me to do. This isn't when I asked it. Or if you tell it to write code, this code isn't correct. It's close, but it's not quite right. And of course, that's going to improve. But I don't think we're ever going to be able to replace like the human analysis part of, I think there's going to be a lot of, okay, the AI has generated this. Now we need a human to kind of confirm or review this. Because if we start putting our trust fully into the machines, I think that's a whole other level that I don't necessarily think we can quite do yet.
Yeah, I view it as a creation. I don't know what to call it, a product, but it creates stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And just like you would write a product,
Mhm.
so it creates code to help with the product, creates information you can use to make a
Mhm.
decision. And just with anything, you don't build a product and release it without a QA cycle.
No.
Right. And look
No.
at the airline industry.
Oh,
Their QA cycles years and years, 10 years, in fact.
automobile too, it's the same
Yeah. Auto,
thing. Yeah, safety
healthcare,
systems,
FDA stuff.
all of that. And so they're also leveraging AI now,
Yeah.
and these things are just going to get better. But I think we're entering kind of some uncharted territory. And I mean, I'm already seeing all these startups popping up everywhere. There's security startups now. There's, every marketing, everything in between is saying, oh, we got AI now. It's so much better than before. And then I start playing with some of these things, like just on the podcast level, like the auto-generated, hey, here's all your Twitter threads and all your other stuff. And like some of this is like, I wouldn't just copy paste this stuff into Twitter. It's not there yet.
Look like a moron, then you don't
No.
copy paste as is.
Right.
Yeah, I was just thinking, let's play a little here, and then we'll go to the detection piece for inside the organization. But let's look at the analyst role and where it might be helpful, or security operations broader if we want to.
Yeah.
I have a couple ideas. I'll throw those out, and then
Okay.
I'd like to get your thoughts too, because I kind of alluded to one already. Just I have a set of data, right? And this data, I might need to, in its current form, spin up Tableau.
Yep.
Set up some tables and rules and things to get a visualization and find the story that I think I might want or might need.
Yeah.
Versus feeding that into generate AI like ChatGPT to say where are the interesting things in this data set. Now, obviously it's limited to how much data you can feed it. So, and then the question is, do you want to feed it to a public service like ChatGPT?
There's your risk. Yeah.
Which we'll talk about in a moment. But just this idea that it might, and I have to QA what it tells me. Right? I have to validate what it found is actually true. But it might be to your efficiency point, a very much faster way to identify an anomaly or something that my rules-based system or my ML-based detection system isn't finding. And we talk about QA here, and I talked about it on the other podcast I was mentioning as well. What are you testing for?
Yeah.
And so using it to test some of your hypotheses around policies and are these the right controls and that they've been implemented properly? Maybe analysis of configurations and things like that could be helpful. So I don't know. There, obviously, there's endless opportunities, but
Oh,
those are a
it's
couple that I was thinking about. Anything on your mind?
Yeah, I think like thinking of like you said, lots of data that needs to be analyzed and looking for anomalies or things that we would normally. I just think of like Excel is a great example, right? I know that Microsoft is going to be putting in some AI automations into their Excel product to do like auto formulas and to just say, take this data and give me this, or you can actually through your voice, right, you could talk to Excel and say I want it to do this, just like you would chat GPT. That is an enormous time saver for people. Thinking of any kind of mass data set that you need to do something with and then find the good nuggets within that data, I think that is going to be a huge benefit of AI. One thing that's interesting that a few people have mentioned to me though, that kind of goes beyond just the thinking of, well, okay, this is going to help automate the boring stuff, but what does that actually mean for critical thinking skills? Are we kind of taking that away now that we've let AI do all that thinking for us? Are we becoming like just mindless button pushers, or is AI going to really help us enhance our critical thinking skills? So I thought that was kind of an interesting. I've had a few people mention that to me. And what does that mean for us as humans and how we process information if we take that all away? Are we losing some of our own creativity, I guess?
Yeah, and I have thoughts on that. I mean, it kind of goes to my earlier point about abstracting.
Hmm.
How much of the detail
Yeah.
do you know? And to me, in this case, it's do I really need to know every byte in that data set
Hmm.
to be smart at what I'm trying to do? And if I can be more creative in how I ask the system
Yeah.
to analyze, whereas if I'm doing it manually, perhaps even based on my understanding of the data,
Hmm.
which may be wrong,
Could be.
which may
Yeah.
be limited, which may be
Hmm.
biased, um, I could end up being more creative and find multiple options for
That's
whatever it is
true.
I'm trying to solve for
Yeah.
versus the one that
Hmm.
I probably screwed up because that's me.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
my thought on this.
Yeah. It's kind of like the old argument of like, back, I'm kind of old and I'm dating myself, but when I had math class in high school or grade school, and they said, you're never going to carry a calculator in your pocket. So that's why you have to learn the fundamentals of math and how to do it in your head and write with pen and paper. And now, we're carrying supercomputers in our pockets that, they didn't think was ever possible because it's the 1980s. Right. But I look at the same thing. It's like you still have to have the fundamentals, right? I think even if you're going to let ChatGPT or AI create these things for you, like in schools and education, I think we're never going to not stop teaching the fundamentals of math or basic computer programming or all of those things, because they're the basis of, well, this is how AI works, and we have to understand how it works. So, um, yeah, there's some just interesting
Yes.
things that come out of that.
Yep. Well, the fact that it's there and it exists and it is helping us be more creative, perhaps helping us do
I think
more
so.
faster, perhaps achieving new things that were previously impossible, perhaps
Hmm.
changes the environment and the world that we live in and that we do
Yeah.
work in. And so it's gonna make us think differently anyway. We're gonna have to
Yeah.
understand how things worked, how they work
Yep.
now, how they might work tomorrow given this new
Hmm.
technology, and really evaluate. Well, obviously we're talking cybersecurity, so evaluate the risk, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So
big
let's
time.
go there. Let's go there. How
Yeah.
the risk of something like a chat GPT in the business and how that impacts security analysts, security
Hmm.
operations. What are you seeing and hearing?
Oh, it's huge. I've already seen the debates of, okay, we're going to block ChatGPT from our corporate networks. And, there's schools now that are banning it. And I mean, this gets back into the old DLP days of like, okay, guys, you can't send email anymore with sensitive information. So we're going to put in all these monitoring tools and, make sure that everything going in and out of the network is authorized. And it's so difficult to control people and say you can't use it. We've got mobile phones, we've got so many different ways of doing it, right? And it's been a battle. Just trying to control corporate information to this day is still challenging, let alone ChatGPT and these AI tools. You're not going to be able to block it. You're not going to be able to ban it. People are going to use it, and unfortunately, data is going to get leaked because that's what feeds AI. I think there needs to be more done on the OpenAI, and these companies need to have ways of identifying when sensitive information is being uploaded or put in place. I know there's already seen some interesting things come out of ChatGPT. If you try to ask it to do something that maybe it thinks that it's illegal or whatever, it tells you, nope, I can't do that. But I think we're going to have to rely more on those organizations, because it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to stop somebody from putting sensitive information in through a system that maybe not be monitored right by a company.
Yeah, and I think it's probably, well, it's anything with security, and probably privacy is one of the easiest to connect it to, in the sense of protecting systems and protecting the data. Yep. And watching how and where it goes, and redacting it or blocking it or whatever. Yeah. And everybody, I think, has a role to play in this. So certainly the people providing the service, and the teams protecting the network that allow access to that, and the users that are doing it in the first place. Some awareness there, I'm sure. Back to the skills.
And where the data goes, and where it's hosted. Is it self-hosted? Is it hosted by the company? And how are they storing and protecting that data? Is it intermingled with other data? I mean, there's so many questions to ask in these environments, and it's so new, and there's, I think, this hype around it. And so a lot of people now aren't quite thinking about the data security implications of using something like this. They just say, this is really cool, this is going to help me in my job, so I'm just going to start putting data into it, maybe not realizing what they just did.
Right. And it's too late at that point, right?
Oh yeah, way too late. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tough call.
Nobody has a great answer right now.
Yeah. Right. Italy.
Yeah.
Stop doing
it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No.
All right. So, and I don't know if you're aware or not, because I mean, the way ChatGPT works is that it has its service in the cloud, and you're feeding the service and training it as you're gaining from it.
Yep.
So it's getting better as you use it. But it relies on, in order for that to happen, it relies on you sharing that stuff to the public.
Yes, mass amounts of data,
at least there,
and biases, by the way.
Right. Exactly.
That's the other problem with it.
So I'm wondering, are there ways to, and you touched on it, where the data is hosted and how it's protected? Do you know, are there? I mean, the ChatGPT is probably the most popular, but are there other services that you've heard of? Maybe, I don't know if you have or not, but that allow you to use the knowledge from the cloud, but share the data to a service on-prem, that your data actually doesn't ever go to the cloud part of it?
I think there might be. I think there might be ways of doing that, or there might be some type of filtering that's available, right? But a lot of this is going to rely, I think, on the policies of these various cloud providers, right? Of, how are they maybe, taking that information and then using it with other data sets. I think it's going to be a big data problem that's going to have to be figured out. But from what I've heard, there are some that will have some more like self-hosted type options, but I think it's going to be pretty limited right now, because I've seen like, oh, you can use GPT-3 with this, but you're going to have to wait until 4 and then change out your whole system when the newer AI, is available. And there's going to be a lot of work, right, to take something self-hosted, upgrade it. I mean, it's no different than if you self-hosted anything, right? But now we're talking something on a huge scale that needs and requires a lot of data. I think it's going to be very challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll point back to Symantec. We bought IBM's digital immune system technology when I was working for them, and that was a cloud. Basically, it was a malware assessment analysis engine in the cloud that companies would submit their malware to their infected component or assets to, and they'd get analyzed, and you'd be told, "Yep, this in fact is something new we haven't seen before, and this is what it does." And so we required that exchange. But we allowed people or organizations to have an on-premises layer that would interface with the cloud. And
exactly.
So you're an AppSec guy. I have not yet had a chance to interact with OpenAI through APIs yet. Because to me that seems like a potential opportunity.
Absolutely.
Where you might present an interface, because most people just go straight to the ChatGPT interface on the web. Where if you can do it through APIs, maybe you present to your employees an interface that gives them parameters and does some of the checks that help protect IP and other sensitive data or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that actually you're touching on something that's important is I think organizations will naturally have to start providing their own interfaces for employees or for developers if they're going to leverage this, instead of blocking it and saying, nope, you can't use it at all. Maybe giving them that outlet as long as it's either monitored or filtered or there's some process in place. That is probably a better approach than just saying no, and then that's when they start getting into trouble of, why did my data go out this window that wasn't monitored? So might be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yep. I'm going to ask ChatGPT what it recommends.
Yeah. But to tie this all together, it's interesting because like APIs, right? If I'm just getting into the field, and I want to use ChatGPT and I'm interested in that field, I want to learn the basics of how APIs work, how they're secured, how I would interface with ChatGPT through an API and tie that into maybe an application that I'm building. I mean, these are all fundamentals, right? These are all things that you have to understand before you get to the really cool stuff. So, it all ties in together at the end of the day.
Yep. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yep, that's right.
I like your idea of I don't follow the device myself, but being specialized in something, I'm all over the place.
That's I think we all are in a bit.
How my brain works.
And like I said, I think that's okay to kind of be that generalist and have interest in lots of different things. But at the end of the day, I mean, even you probably have something that you really, really like above all of the other things. And so maybe that is kind of your specialty, if you will.
Yeah. I'm not a general contractor, but I can build a hell lot of stuff.
Yep, that's right.
Let me figure out what tools I need and what materials I need, and off I go.
Yes, I'm actually known for building the airplane while it's flying.
There you go. It's always a good thing. It's always a good thing. Well, Tom, this has been great. I feel if we open up another topic, we'll drag this on beyond what people want to hear. They all want to hear you, but they don't want to hear me talk much longer than this.
Oh, that's not true.
So we'll stop it here, but I don't know, maybe a regular
it'd be fun.
Regular chat would be fun. Yeah, I'll join you on yours next time or something.
Yeah, I'll have you on the Shared Security podcast. I love that.
I just invited myself. You see how that works?
Yeah, I love it. I always need guests, so it's perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. I don't know if we'll have any resources from this run all over the place conversation we just had, but I think great conversation. Hopefully people are thinking a little differently, or at least thinking. And I owe that to you, Tom. Thanks for joining us here.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean.
See you everybody.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you learned something new and this story made you think, then share ITSPmagazine with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our columns. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.